Playing in alternative tunings is something that's really opened up a lot of doors for me in the past couple of years when it comes to songwriting. Every songwriter knows this. When you've been playing guitar for like 20 years or you've been songwriting for like years and years, everything kind of starts to sound the same. Like in standard, there's only so much I can do with 8 chords, right? I can play around with different styles, but my default setting is like rock, blues, folk sometimes. And after having written probably like 100 songs up to this point or more, it kind of gets hard to find new inspiration and to play with the same sound, basically. So one thing I started to do was to like literally play with my guitar like in a full step down or 2 steps down. It's been a cool way for me to get like a different sound out of a song I already wrote. So to give you an example, last summer I started to write this little folky song. You know, pretty standard, like E minor, G, D, A minor. There's nothing wrong with this song. I was happy with the lyrics, I was happy with the way it sounds, but I've written a million songs like this. With this strumming pattern, I've heard this kind of song on the radio a million times. It just doesn't stand out, and I don't want my music to blend in. I want my music to stand out. So something I did to remedy this was actually to detune the guitar. I'm gonna use my other guitar here. So this guitar is actually in C sharp. It sounds much deeper, much lower, much richer, and instead of using this strumming pattern, I decided to do something that would build tension instead. And it goes from being kind of melancholic and sad to being like frantic and like desperate. So it sounds like this now. So it's quite a departure from what we had initially, obviously, but this is the same song. The lyrics are the same, the structure is the same. I just switched I switched from the standard version of tuning to a C sharp standard, to a C sharp tuning, sorry, and it really opened up like a whole new avenue on where I could go with the song. It took it from being like an average sounding folky, maybe a little bit country song, to being like a full rock, tense sort of song, which is what I prefer, and I want it to sound a little bit different. So yeah, that's the first way that I use alternative tunings. The second way that I do is to literally like use an alternative tuning. So like a dadgad, open G, open A. I started to learn about these tunings or to play around with them about 2 years ago. I was really big into like percussion acoustic stuff, and yeah, playing with the guitar in open tuning allows you to like play full chords just with like a bar chord in one fret when you're playing percussion. So it's very handy. But it's opened up a whole world of possibilities. Some riffs that you can play in open tunings are very difficult to play in standard, or it's just not something that you would logically do in a guitar that's tuned in standard. So that's been very cool. Actually, 2 of my singles that are out at the moment, I'm Nobody and Divine, they're using like an open G-ish tuning. I don't even know what to call it, but it's the same tuning that Them Crooked Vultures uses for Spinning in the Daffodils. So instantly it sounds like heavier, which I like. So it's a very cool tuning to get like a deep sound. It's a lot heavier, and like this riff I couldn't play like on a standard tuning. It's not something I ever would have thought of doing. But since these 2 first strings are the same, G and G, it allows me to kind of go, you know, to kind of play around in the fretboard in a way that I wouldn't be so free to do in standard. Same thing. with my song I'm Nobody. So it's kind of a busy riff song, but it's easy for me to play this while I sing. Yeah, this tuning just opens up a lot of possibilities for any kind of, you know, riff heavy kind of a song. I really recommend you to play around with different alternative tunings. One con that I will say, a disclaimer, is that if you plan on playing live with these songs and you've got like different tunings, you will probably need to buy a second guitar. I had to do that when we started to play live with my bandmate. And I think I have like 4 different tunings on 8 of our songs. So it's a pain in the ass, but I think it's still worth it, honestly, because in my opinion, these are some of the greatest songs that I've ever written. And it's very much due to being inspired by these alternative tunings. So yeah, play around with that. If you liked this tip, I encourage you to sign up to my newsletter. It's going to be the first link in the description below. I plan on writing a new piece like this maybe once every 2 weeks, just to kind of share my thoughts on songwriting and just my thoughts in general about music and kind of maybe some updates on my own music. So yeah, sign up to that if you think it's of any interest to you, and I'll see you in the next video.